Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I hear the point, don't eliminate the loans, keep restrictions in place, but there seems to me to be something of a conundrum here. Senator Enzi talked about it. The whole idea behind the loans is that we don't use them when there's a modest need, presumably because you can find other ways to satisfy that need. You can pay that back over time. We only think about giving people access to 401ks or loans against 401ks when we think there's an extreme need. But I want to ask about two other parts to the conversation that just haven't been here so far. One is the question around all the people who got in trouble on their homes. I'm just thinking about the most recent crisis. The number of people who, when a teaser rate mortgage reset, cashed out their 401ks to try to keep up with those mortgages, and the consequence was they eventually lost the home and had no retirement incomes at the end. I talked to many, many families in Massachusetts for whom that was the case, and I think it's been the case across the country. So here they are with nothing at the end. The second one goes right to where you are, Dr. Weller, and that is medical bankruptcy. If someone borrows against the 401k and pays down or pays off a very large medical debt, they've just lost the asset. If they really can't manage the debt and end up in bankruptcy, then they're in bankruptcy and they're left with nothing. But we've very carefully in our bankruptcy laws said retirement income is so important that we will set it aside. It's an exception. Creditors can't reach it. And so people going into bankruptcy who did not tap their 401ks, who did not borrow against their 401ks, have much more, they have more assets and more capacity to recover post-bankruptcy. So I'm a little caught in the heart of this question, and that is we're trying to measure needs now. A person has a medical problem, a person's behind on the home mortgage, a person's lost a job, versus needs later, and that is they will spend many years in retirement and they need some assets to be able to cover that. I welcome any of your thoughts on this. Dr. Fellows, you want to start?
Sure. It's another just terrific point, and it points to the complexity of really promulgating good public policy on this issue, and successfully for workers being able to convert their paychecks into economic mobility, because they've just got, there's so many different dimensions to this issue. As you were talking about in the housing crisis, you're absolutely right. As a vehicle for people to save their housing. And yes, it doesn't promote their long-term retirement security, but it sure does promote their ability to live in a house.
For a while. For
a while. So I think, sorry to be a broken record here, but I do think what this points to, and what prompted me to leave my very comfy perch in a think tank, is that, I think through technology now we really do have a scalable solution to these issues. And the vision is that you create a private bank relationship for the mass market through technology, because that private banker ultimately that's presiding over someone who's wealthy's their assets and liabilities and financial decisions.
You raise a good point on this about the advice, because there is a real tilt in the advice.
Yeah.
I am told that debt collectors not infrequently will ask if people have 401ks and recommend that they tap the 401ks in order to stop the debt collection calls. It would be nice if people had another place to get advice, sure, that the debt collectors are not acting in the best interests of the family. Thank you, Dr. Fellows. Ms. Borland, any comment?
So my only comment, I don't have a solution for the mortgage challenge. I will say, though, that the way the system is constructed today, the focus on loans and withdrawals is important, but when an individual, when they get to change employment, say they lose their job in that process anyway, they have full access to cash out their total 401k regardless. So even if they repay their loan, if they're going to cash it out the next day, it's really irrelevant. So I think focusing on the cash out issue first and sort of stemming that leakage will then support leakage from other sources as well. So that one is a really big deal.
Fair point, although we might just say you need a comprehensive solution here that watches where the money's going.
Yes.
Dr. Weller?
I would just add, we can't expect the 401k loans to do everything, and I think we have to recognize that 5 years into the recession, after the recession, we still have 40% of people unemployed people looking for a job more than 6 months. So we have a perfect storm for middle-class families, and while there's lots of things going wrong for individuals, changing little things on the 401k loans are not going to change the situation overall, and that there is other policy measures that need to address the labor market risks, need to comprehensively restructure financial advice, and we need to go beyond that. I think the 401k world as it is structured, the 401k loans as they work right now, do work relatively well.
Well, I appreciate it, and appreciate your being here to talk about this. Thank you.
Well, I just thank you.